Hello dear students, in this lecture we will discuss cinchona, which has anti-malarial properties, and this is also called fever bark tree. So these are the plants of cinchona showing flowers, leaves and bark is the economically important part of this plant because the drugs are extracted from bark of the plant. So the fever bark tree or quinine tree belongs to the family Rubiaceae, and there are many species of cinchona. Please refer S.L. Kocher to read this topic. And fever bark tree or cinchona belongs to Indian highlands in South America, and South Americans knew the anti-malarial property of cinchona bark in ancient times. So many stories are told regarding the discovery of cinchona, which revolves around the Countess of Cincon, who was wife of Viceroy of Peru, and she was actually cured of malaria in 1638 after all other cures had failed. So it is told in the stories that a housekeeper, due to the affection with her mistress, revealed to her the secret of the medicinal properties of the bark of cinchona. And when Countess knew about it, she was so pleased with the efficacy of the drug that she introduced it to Europe in 1640. So in 18th century, Linnaeus named it Cinchona in honor of the women, and it is also often told in the stories that the story is not factual, but it is a myth. However, it is certain that Jesuit missionaries first brought the drug to Europe, and its pharmaceutical value received recognition a few centuries later. So, when this drug was discovered from fever bacteria cinchona, its fame soon spread to the other countries, and the because this plant belonged to Peru, so the Peruvian bark was in great demand, and for over 2 centuries, from mid 17th to mid 19th century, South America had virtual monopoly on the production of the anti-malarial drug, but due to over exploitation and due to reckless felling of the trees, it faced extinction, which depleted the supplies in Indian highlands where it is actually found. So, this was an interesting story about the discovery of anti-malarial properties of cinchona. So, here you can see in this picture that the cinchona trees are growing remotely in the forest, and the collectors are exploring the forest to collect the bark from cinchona tree. And cinchona tree, because it belongs to Peru, so it is the national tree of Peru. And before the discovery of this anti-malarial drug from cinchona, the malaria was very common in ancient times, and it was actually an obstacle to the progress and development. It caused great losses of human life in Africa, Asia, and United States and parts of Europe. And some scholars say that malaria was one of the factors that contributed to the fall of Roman Empire. It is also said that ravages of malaria and the lack of adequate supplies of quinine played a major role in the collapse of German armies during World War I. When the anti-malarial drug was discovered from Cinchona, it opened a new chapter in the world history. And we know that the bulk of the commercial supply of this drug quinine, which has anti-malarial properties, is derived from the bark of many species of cinchona, and cinchona is a native to Indian highlands of South America, which extends from Bolivia to Colombia. So there are many species of cinchona which yields drug, and these species are the drug is Calycia or yellow bark of commerce, which is extracted from Cinchona calycia. Then ledger bark or ledger hybrid bark is Cinchona ledgeriana or Cinchona calycia variety ledgeriana. Then loxa or pale bark of commerce, which is widely used, is actually Cinchona officinalis. Then fourth one is red bark of commerce, which is extracted from Cinchona succirubra. So in addition to these, there are other species like Cinchona micrantha and Cinchona nitida of Peru, and Cinchona pitiensis of Colombia, which also contains alkaloid. Cinchona legeriana gives the highest yield of quinone, which produces up to 16% in bark. So these are the names of different types of Cinchona species which you have to remember uh, from this plant, and memorize the names, their botanical names as well as their common names. Now, Cinchona species, if you see, it is a evergreen shrub or trees which has opposite simple entire leaves and interpetiolar stipules. So you can see in the figure that how the low leaves look like, and the small fragrant flowers are borne on terminal panicles. The capsular fruits are oblong to ovoid lanceolate. So you can here see in this picture the leaves, flowers. Then when plants are found, they are found growing at the altitude ranging from 760 to 2750 meters, and they prefer a cool mountain slopes with abundant well distributed rainfall of over 220 centimeters. So at present, and proper propagation of this plant is either by seeds or vegetative means, and vegetative means actually it is done by grafting or cutting. So at present, Cinchona is cultivated on a large scale in India, Indonesia, and a limited supply is also obtained from Tanzania, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. When you see chemical composition of Cinchona, the bark of Cinchona roots, they contain the highest concentration of total alkaloids, but the bark of trunk is the richest source of quinine, and quinine is the major drug which has anti-malarial properties. So you have to remember that although the highest concentration of alkaloids is found in bark of roots, but trunk is the richest source of quinone. What does that mean? It means that uh, quinone is majorly found in bark of trunk or stem. The harvesting of the bark is undertaken from fourth year onwards, but the alkaloidal content of the bark reaches its maximum content only after 10 to 12 years of planting. So bark is removed by uprooting the trees when 12 years of age, or by cutting the stem above the ground and then stripping the main stem and branches. The packed bark is then shipped to the drug manufacturer. So you can see here in the pictures white colored flowers of the plant and the leaves. So when you see the detailed chemical composition of cinchona, it has nearly 30 alkaloids, of which the most important are quinine, quinidine, which is an isomer of quinine, cinchonine, and its isomer cinchonidine, and all the four they are known as totaquine. So totaquine means that it has all the four alkaloids: quinine, quinidine, cinchonine, and cinchonidine. So the various alkaloids exist in bark in combination with uh, cinchotanic acid, quinic acid, free organic acids, tannins, coloring matters, gums, starch, vegetable matter, and traces of volatile oils. So other less important alkaloids are cincotin, javanine, hydroquinine, hydroquinidine, cusconine, cusconidine, cuscumine, and cuscumidine. So apart from its use as an anti-malarial drug, it is also used or as valuable as tonic and antiseptic because of its medicinal properties. So quinine, quinidine, and other compounds are also employed as insecticides for the preservation of fur, feathers, wool, felt, and textile. So, apart from the medicinal properties, it has also insecticidal properties. And when the bark is used for the extraction of drug quinine, the residual bark of cinchona, which is left after the extraction of this alkaloid, is used as tanning material. So it is also has use in tanning industry, and the alkaloid quinidine is also used as a cardiac depressant. So these were the uses of cinchona or economic importance of cinchona. And several species of Remigia, which belongs to the family Rubiaceae, particularly Remigia perdiana and Remigia pedunculata, are promising substitutes for cinchona, and they contain substantial amounts of quinine and quinidine in the bark. So Remigia is a substitute of cinchona, and besides these, roots and stems and leaves of uh, Dichroa febrifuga and leaves of Chemibetia foliosa are also sources of these alkaloids. So apart from cinchona, these other plants are also used for extraction of anti-malarial drugs, and cinchona has lost its importance after the widespread use of synthetic anti-malarial drugs, and these synthetic anti-malarial drugs are free from some of the disadvantages of natural quinine, which is actually very bitter. So plasmocin, quinacrine hydrochloride, and plasmoquine and chloroquine are prominent among the large number of compounds having antimalarial properties. So I hope students you have understood cinchona. So please read it from SL Coacher, and let us meet in next class. Thank you, students.